Welcome back to Cornish Talks Talk Common Sense. I'm going to move on to the second underlying principle that informs us of what is happening in our society today and why. And so it's important to know what's happening in our world today if we want to understand why events are unfolding the way they are, why things are happening in the world the way they are. It's important to understand these underlying principles. So we've talked about the idea of postmodernism. I want to move on to a second core item that has generated important changes in our society in recent decades. And that is the elevation of feelings, personal feelings. Historically, we've always thought, well, humans are rational creatures, and so we make good decisions in life, and governments make good decisions, and so on, because we think rationally, we reason things out, and what makes sense guides us as to what we should do. But what we're seeing in recent years is that is being uprooted and substantially replaced by the idea that feelings govern, that our personal feelings should control actions and our conduct. So how has that unfolded? Well, I'm going to tell you that in recent generations, the whole advance of the field of psychiatry and the idea about self-esteem and feeling good about ourselves as being an important goal has been behind a lot of the movement towards elevating the importance of feelings over the idea of critical thinking governing our conduct and our behavior. So how does this happen? Well, let me give you an example of that. When today we hear a new word being used called microaggression. This is a word that I've only even heard used probably within the last year or so, but it's a new invented word that people are using, really associated with critical race theory in particular, and we'll come back and talk about that idea at a later point. But the idea of a microaggression is the idea that when someone says or does something that makes you feel bad, that is now called a microaggression. And that's not a good thing. The idea is that's to be forbidden. That's something that should not be permitted. And so we see today this idea of political correctness on steroids, where if you cause offense to somebody, that is the worst evil in the new moral value system, and that is superimposed over all reasoned debate. In fact, reasoned debate gets shut down in the face of offending somebody. And we've seen that recently on many university campuses where, for example, conservative speakers are being shouted down or not allowed to speak at all if the idea is what they say might cause offense to someone else, that they should be barred from speaking. And this is a radical idea, an idea of censorship, of freedom of speech, which is a brand new value in our modern society. And so I've actually coined an expression that I would use in regard to this idea, and that is the idea that it's better to lie than to cause offense. Now, I think that is a completely unacceptable and wrong-headed statement, but that is what we see a lot of people functioning by that notion. The idea that it's better to lie. If we're even deceptive or not being truthful, that's more important than causing somebody offense. And so therefore, you shouldn't be allowed to say things that offend. So the idea of feelings and self-esteem, these ideas that those are the most important goals because psychiatry tells us that is what's important, means that in many cases in our current social issues, good debate, sound exchange of ideas, and critical thinking is being shut down and not permitted because feelings are offended, and that cannot be allowed. That is a dangerous, dangerous value system that has never before been created in the way it is in our current society. So it's something to understand why the issues that are arising today with critical race theory and transgenderism and even climate change. These are all ideas that develop from these notions of postmodernism and from the elevation of how you feel about something as being the important issue, not whether it makes good sense, not whether it's based in evidence and fact, but how it makes you feel. That's our second item. Let's take a break and we'll come back with number 3 in just a minute.